Hi, my name is Dan, and I finished last in my fantasy football league. This week, I'm looking at changing scenery. Every year we see players move from one team to another, and those changes can lead to significant improvement or decline in a player's fantasy performance. This year didn't seem to produce any major shocks, as it seems teams were happy to re-sign or tag guys to keep them around. Even so, let's take a look at a few who should be starting for their respective teams Week 1. Malik Willis. Willis signed with Miami after a couple solid appearances replacing Jordan Love late last season. Overall, though, Willis hasn't played a lot of football over his 4-year career, appearing in a total of 22 games with only 6 starts. His stint with Miami will be the first time he's been an established starter, and with a variety of changes in Miami, it's a big question mark on what to expect. When he stepped in against the Bears last season, he played well, so it's possible he's found his footing and will be a solid player. If you watched my video last week, though, you know I'm skeptical of the Dolphins' upside this year. Geno Smith. Geno was on my fantasy team last year, and is part of the reason this channel and punishment exists. His run as the Raiders QB started well with a big Week 1 output, but quickly fell off in Week 2. I was actually winning Week 2 until Smith threw an interception in the end zone on a potential game-winning drive. The margins are that small sometimes. Smith went on to lead the league in interceptions and sacks. He returns to the Jets after a decade away, hoping to find the quality of play that he showed a couple years back with the Seahawks. But it's the Jets, and their main 2 offensive changes were Geno and rookie Omar Cooper Jr., unless you also include bringing in Frank Reich as offensive coordinator. The collective groan you heard was from all the Colts fans I know. Kirk Cousins. I've already said I think Cousins will be replaced once again by a former Indiana quarterback early this season. But Cousins has proven himself a reliable quarterback over his career, throwing for over 4,000 yards in the season 7 times and nearly 5,000 in 2016. If he does prove me wrong, and I finish last, it's possible, I still don't think the Raiders have serious threats outside of Ginty and Brock Bowers, so I wouldn't expect incredible numbers. Kyler Murray. Maybe Murray should have stuck to baseball? I don't know. We've seen other quarterbacks revive their careers with the Vikings, including the aforementioned Kirk Cousins and recent Super Bowl champ Sam Darnold. So maybe the change of scenery is exactly what he needs to put down the game controller and find himself leading a playoff football team. He is coming off an injury and wasn't lighting up the stat sheet last year before shutting it down. But 2024 was a solid year. David Montgomery. Montgomery's been a solid running back for both the Bears and the Lions, especially as part of the Sonic and Knuckles duo in Detroit. The trade to the Texans should make him the feature back where they hope to improve from the bottom third rushing offense from a year ago, and take some pressure off the passing game. Montgomery had the lowest yardage output of his career last year, and is nearing that mythical slowdown at 30 years old that has impacted many other running backs. I still think this will be a decent year for him, though. Travis Etienne. I was surprised to see the Saints sign Etienne, mostly because the Saints weren't great last year, and he leaves behind a good Jacksonville team. Looking closer, though, the Saints' passing game was decent, but their running game struggled. So bringing in a player like Etienne makes sense, and I guess playing closer to home would be a draw for anyone. Etienne was a top 10 running back last year per Fantasy Pros, and Kellen Moore hopes to recreate what he had as an offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. Kenneth Walker III. Walker showed just how good of a running back he can be in the Seahawks Super Bowl win by running for 135 yards and earning Super Bowl MVP honors. Surprisingly, he finished 1 spot behind Zach Charbonnet in fantasy scoring last year, though he won't have to share carries like he did in Seattle, and should see an increase in TD numbers as a result. Kansas City clearly needed some help with their bottom 10 rushing offense, and Walker should provide exactly what they need. DJ Moore. This one was bittersweet, though it's probably best all the way around. DJ Moore was solid with the Bears since coming over from the Panthers, and had one of the more epic catches you'll see as a Bears fan in an overtime win against the rival Packers. Buffalo's wide receiver room isn't exciting, and needed a playmaker like DJ to take some pressure off Josh Allen and James Cook. Romeo Doubs. After that showing against the Seahawks, the Patriots clearly needed to do something, and well, something they did. Doubs isn't a bad receiver, and had a couple of huge games in his time in Green Bay. He seems to be the ultimate boom or bust receiver, though, as 9 out of his 21 career touchdowns have come in multi-TD games. He didn't really stand out among a rotating cast of receivers in Green Bay, and we'll find out soon enough whether it's the same in New England. Michael Pittman. I know Colts fans have talked Pittman up in the past, but I still don't get it. Like Doubs, he hasn't been bad, but unlike Doubs, he only has one game in his career where he had multiple touchdowns. So the boom doesn't seem to be there. He's had a couple 1,000-yard reception seasons, but was third on the team in yardage last year behind Alec Pierce and Tyler Warren. To me, he just seems inconsistent without a high ceiling. Pittsburgh's in a win-now mentality, so maybe Rodgers will throw him to him on occasion, but DK will clearly be Rodgers' preferred target. Jaylen Waddle. Waddle is the only change to a Broncos passing offense that finished middle of the road last year. He finished top 20 in fantasy points for wide receivers in a down year for him, and will be lining up opposite Sutton, who finished 12th. That seems good for Denver's chances to improve their passing game this year, but could mean the ball gets spread around a lot more than it was in Miami.
Wrap it up!
Looking back at this list, I'm clearly not too positive on most of these changes, especially the QBs, though I think the running backs will all be successful and worth looking at as long as they stay healthy. I initially planned to just do free agents that had signed with new teams, but there were so few changes at the offensive skill players in free agency that I felt it was appropriate to combine them with players who were traded. We'll see if the greener pastures lead to big performances, or last place.